who had polio.
Right.
Was that a devastating event? I mean, polio, that was probably like the last vestiges.
She was the last, sort of the last person to get it. It turns out we all had it, but only the weakest one developed it. Later on, we were told that all the children had received the polio virus, but we were all stronger, and she was the youngest, and she wasn't able to fight as well.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had no symptoms whatsoever?
Well, not that I know of. I mean, I'm moving around pretty well.
Is your sister still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive. She lives, she lives fine. There's something called post-polio syndrome, which is many years later, the symptoms begin to come back to you and you begin to struggle again, movement.
Did you have fear growing up that you were going to be sickly or something bad would happen to you? Does that put a fear into you? Because you seem pretty fearless to me.
Well, I was never afraid of being sick. I don't get sick very often.
Was it a shock to your family when you decided to go into comedy?
No, it was a shock when my older brother Brian went in before I did, and when my father died, he came back and got a real job that would have, if he'd kept at it, he'd be a very wealthy man today, and he gave it up to become an improvisational actor at the Second City in Chicago, and it kind of blew everyone's mind. We're like, Brian, wait a second.
Chicago's really important to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it about Chicago? Like, I know people from the rest of the country, they don't get very emotional about where they grew up. Where'd
you grow up?
New York. I mean, and I love New York, and I always wanted to come back to New York. And to me, the be-all would be to be on the radio in New York. That was my goal.
Well, you got that done.
I got it done. I checked. That was my only goal, so I'm pretty much goalless. You know what I mean? But Chicago, do you still live in Chicago? Do you have a presence there?
No, but I mean, the house I grew up in is still there. And we still have that house, But,
yeah.
We have a presence there because, I can't do anything but root for the Bears, the Cubs.
Yeah, that's your thing.
The Bulls and the Blackhawks. And when I go back there, it's like, hey, everyone in town knows you. You're sort of a local guy, even if you don't live there anymore. I mean, I had to go to New York for work, and New York is...
Are you excited about this new movie? I mean, all the hype aside when a movie comes out. So people are saying, this is your greatest role. I mean, you've had many great roles, but this is your greatest role. You're probably going to be nominated for this and that. Is any of that important to you? Are you blasé about this stuff?
I don't think you can be blasé. That's maybe not the word, but, the term, there's a lot of Oscar buzz. I mean, that comes, you hear that all the time. It doesn't...
Constantly.
And because ours is sort of the first movie out in October, there's a lot of Oscar buzz. We're like the first ones to get the Oscar buzz.
You're
Right?
the only one that has the Oscar buzz.
That's why we came out early, I suppose.
But would you want an Oscar? I mean, would you campaign? I hear about that. People campaign for their Oscar. Would
Yeah.
you do some of that, or would that just be beneath?